Because you've begun the good work in me, you're faithful and just to complete, walking in transparency. Use it for your glory. Come and have a talk with me. Come and have a talk with me.
Welcome back, and we're going to continue our talk with the battle with purpose. So we heard some great things before the break. We heard about the limitations that we kind of tend to put on ourselves in regards to purpose, and especially being Christians and in the church, and even culturally, the limitations we put. Natalie, you touched on basically when basically the struggles, and when you spoke about what someone might go through in order to get to that point, or to get a certain thing, or to fulfill their purpose. You spoke about the struggles. So just in regards to yourself, how have you handled hearing certain, you said you've been hearing a lot over the past month or so in regards to where you're going, or what your purpose or God's purpose is for you specifically. So, but what has your reactions been to some of the things you've heard? Like, how has it been for you?
Well, my reaction has been...
What's your first initial reaction, actually?
No, this is... No.
That's your reaction?
Nah. Yeah, some of it I've been like, nah. No way. Like, some of it is it's a bit much. Do you understand what I mean? Especially when, like I said, I'm quite happy with some of the stuff that I'm doing, and I think as well it's the fear of the unknown. Like, because now you're stepping, because some of the things that people tell you, you can't even see. You haven't even got like a foot in that type of area of where is that God is going to take you. Do you understand what I mean? And I think that's what it is. It's the fear of the unknown.
Absolutely.
But then, like I said before, it's like I would rather say yes to God than say no and not be obedient to Him. Because if I didn't have Him by my side, especially like I was saying, that when you do have your struggles, or when you are going through, the fact that you have God by your side, to me, that gives me that's how I encourage myself. I encourage myself because I know, do you know what, don't worry, God's got you. Do you understand what I mean? That's how I encourage myself. And then when I've encouraged myself now, sometimes somebody else will come along and somebody else will, do you understand what I mean? So I'm constantly, and I think if I had to go through life and I didn't have that, I know what it's like I know what it's like to not have God. I know what it's like to go through life and not have God by my side. And I wouldn't want to go back there again, because it was a very lonely place. No, so I ain't going back there again. So it's either I get on with it. Do you understand what I mean? And although I might say that I'm fearful, it's because the things that I do now, in terms of working with the young people, working with the children, even the single women's group, I enjoy it. I like it. That's why part of me might be like, oh, I don't know, because I might be going to do something now. Am I still going to have this enjoyment? Like, although I might, be doing a lot, I like it. I love it. I love when I meet a rider. Sometimes I sit there and, I'm like this. Because just to hear how God is moving in certain individuals, it excites me. Do you understand what I mean? And, so I just think like I always want to have that excitement about what I do. Do you understand what I mean? And the fact that people are telling you things that you don't know where you're going to go. I don't know if I'm going to have that excitement. Do you understand what I mean? And I think that's what it is. It's just a bit of fear. And to be honest, the Bible tells us that we shouldn't fear. The fearing is not of God. Do you understand what I mean? So you just have to say, you know what, you need to just dress back a little bit, Satan, because I need to cut and go through. You need to just So.
Are we always going to enjoy and be excited about our purpose?
I was even going to say that, because sometimes God puts you in certain situations and certain circumstances that are not necessarily for you, like you wouldn't even, on your own accord, you wouldn't like it because it's just uncomfortable, but sometimes that's where he wants you to be at that moment in time.
So true.
Like me now, the job that I'm doing, I wouldn't say for me, it would be for me, but God has placed me there for a purpose, and I'm starting to understand the reasons and what He's using me for in that place. But yeah, sometimes it's just not where you would want to be, but He has a reason. And
That's true.
you
Like
just
we
gotta
were
deal
saying,
with it.
we were saying earlier about the work that I left 3 times.
Yeah.
I left the job 3 times and 3 times ended back there. Do you know what I mean? And we're not always going to enjoy it, because even a certain like a course, though it was initially, I guess initially it was my idea, but the whole way through, not one day have I ever been excited to go to this course. And I'm like, God, I'm going to leave. That's how I've been like, God, I'm going to leave, because, you know, it's not for me. I've had the conversations even with Natalie, like, contemplating, like, should I, why am I still doing this? And, you know, if some people have been like, if it's not for you, just leave it, innit? Like, and these are, but when it came down to it, God just told me, you better stand up. Well, basically, no, not in those, but basically, one of his things to me was, basically, it's not about you, it's about me. So when we're doing these things that we don't like, we're not excited about, you don't want to be there, I would rather be in my bed, catching, drinking tea, than getting up. Honestly, do you know what I mean? Then doing that course. But what he said in regard, it's all about me. It's like in all of our purposes and all that we're doing, we kind of have to remember to keep him at the forefront, even when we're not excited. Like, I don't want to be planning this or planning that or doing this or doing so. I don't be writing assignments, mate. I've done my degree. God, please allow me. Like, please, that's that. Do you know what I mean? And he's just saying, like, it's all about me. So, and it's true. I probably don't know the bigger picture, or might not realise the bigger picture at that point. You know, but I guess it's true. We kind of have to get our eyes off ourselves in some of these things, uncomfortable positions. Do you really think Elijah like? Is it Elijah? Yeah, Elijah like being fed by a dirty raven. Raven don't know. Black dirty bird. Like, imagine those black crows bringing you food. Like, do you know what I mean?
Even Jesus.
Like, do you know, exactly. Jesus going to the cross where he was in the Garden of Gethsemane. Do you know, where the point where he was sweating drops of blood. Do you know what I mean? And saying, God, if possible, let this cup pass from me, but nevertheless, not my will, but your will. And it's exactly that. God, if possible, Lord, let me leave this course, please. But nevertheless, like you said, I'd rather walk with you, God, than walk away from you. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather in the midst of it all. It is difficult though, man. Trust me, because the course, everyone that's been burned by this, trust me, Sam, like, anyone that has been on the journey with me by the course, I just apologise. I have to apologise because I have probably not sold it to them because of my bad attitude, and that's it. I think with our purpose, our attitude is probably character building, what God's doing in me, even through that. Do you know what I mean? Because I've had a bad attitude all throughout it. Do you know what I mean? Anyone just it's been bad. Do you know what I mean? So towards our purpose, our attitudes, it's not necessarily always going to be good. Mine definitely hasn't been in regards to that part of it. Yeah, but we do sometimes struggle to just accept. Is there anything that you say you struggle to deal with in regards to what God's told you to do, or this is a part of your purpose, and the kind of the battle with accepting it, even wanting it, liking it?
Yeah, I think like what's so funny what you're saying is that literally like I liken it to like even the story of Moses. He had to leave the palace, and then you know, he spent a period of the, you know, this encounter with God. He had to spend X amount of years basically in the wilderness, and I think in that wilderness there were traits that had to be taken out. There were things that had to be, there were customs that he was so used to. There were traits that he was so used to that they needed to be removed basically. But also through that period, things were being birthed in him, like patience and various other things. And I think a lot of the times, like, when we're given visions and there's, we grasp a sense of what our purpose is, we almost forget that there's a process also, because we're not necessarily at that place to really receive that thing at that moment in time, but God has to kind of perfect his will in us, so for me personally, I think one of the things that I've had to kind of just deal with is patience, because a lot of the times it's God makes you meet somebody, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's for that moment in time that this thing is going to happen. So sometimes maybe it's a relationship that he's birthed, but maybe in a couple years time it would then establish itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So these are just things that, like, for me personally, that patience, and I think also discipline. Discipline's a big one, because it's almost that if God's shown you something, he's shown you he's shown you a preview of what's to come. It's like, can you discipline yourself to be like that thing? So it's the, okay, you start to act and you start to read, you start to do things that you ought to do if you want to be in that sector, if you want to really embrace that promise that God has put on your life, basically. So it's not just saying, okay, cool, God has shown me this amazing dream and it's just going to happen, but there just has to be a level of discipline that has to be established, order that has to be established in your life for you to basically be in a place that you can really receive this promise, basically. So yeah,
discipline is a big one. It is a big one, but it's not nice, I'm telling you.
It might not be nice, but if you think about your character before God has refined you and stuff like that, and you think about the stuff that you do now, you couldn't do that with the type of character.
Yeah.
Well, I know I couldn't.
Absolutely.
You understand what I mean? I know that it's for the greater good.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? So as much as it is difficult, I do think to myself, oh man, especially when you come up against certain things, I think, if I didn't have Jesus, do you understand what I mean? Even little things like, the other days in the post office, they gave me too much change. Before I would have walked out the shop and not felt no way. But, do you understand what I mean? But it was like, no, you've got too much change. Like, it was on me, like, you have too much change. I'm thinking, but this is little minor change. It's not like you want to give me 10 pounds.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Yeah.
But I still give the woman back the change. So it's for the greater good.
Yeah.
I was going to say something, because when Natalie was speaking, something just literally came to me, because I remembered that Moses actually was leading a nation out of a nation, and the one trait that I believe God was trying to get out of him was anger.
Yeah.
And because you're a leader of people, you can't have anger, you need to have love. So it's almost like God made him spend so much time in the wilderness so that that anger can literally be removed from his system, basically. But what he then exhibited later on down the line when he broke the commandments was anger.
Yeah.
So clearly, and then God said to him that he can't enter the promised land because that trait was still within him, basically. So I think a lot of the times we forget that within that process, literally, there's a lot of things that are going on. Like, we're learning new things about ourselves, we're learning things about people, we're learning things about personalities, so, yeah.
It's a big thing. It's a big thing. Just the ultimate purpose. So, yes, the ultimate, I guess, is the winning souls. But there's even more so.
Yeah.
Get the anger out. You better be a bit more patient, and you better learn to give back the money. When you get angry, you better learn to stick out the balls. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot more that goes into what purpose is. The purpose for me to be at the job could be, you need to learn to have patience with children. Do you know what I mean? Like, you better learn to just take time with children. So there's so much more to purpose. Yeah. it's been lovely talking with you guys today.
Thank
It's
you.
been so good. I look forward to our next talk when we come together and have a chat. Oh, guys, so I just want to thank you all so much for today and for just joining us here and chatting, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, I can't wait to the next one. Trust me, it's been lovely. It's been lovely. So, guys, if anyone out there, if you're battling with purpose, if you put limitations on yourself, if you are thinking, is this really from God because it's not serving in the church building? Yes, it can be from God, as we've heard today. And are you thinking, I just want to give up and I just want to leave this thing? Think twice, pray a bit harder, and think a bit more. What is this shaping? What character traits am I learning in this? No one's saying stays longer than necessary, but there could be a bigger purpose to where you are. If you're struggling with the hardships that come with accepting your purpose, thinking of the fears of leaving things behind and of the unknown, remember what Natalie gave great advice is it would be better to just walk in obedience than to walk in disobedience. It's just better that way. And God, in all of our purposes, he says all things work together for our good. And he says, I know the plans I have for you.
Yes.
That is what he says, thoughts of good and not of evil, to give you hope and a future. He has good plans, good thoughts, good purpose for you. So just don't give up. Let us know how this topic relates to you. Write a comment, send a message in. Let us know how we can stand and pray with you. Connect with us. Connect with us. We're all on social media. Connect with us. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll say thank you until next time.
Come and have a talk with me.
The truth hurts, but the truth will set you free. Cause who the sun sets free is free indeed. The truth hurts, but the truth will set you free. Cause who the sun sets free is free indeed. I said the truth hurts, but the truth will set you free. Cause who the sun sets free is free indeed. The truth hurts, but the truth will set you free. Cause who the sun sets free, listen. Christ is just and must punish sin. So he died for us and suffered punishment. He paid for the biggest debt and proved his love for men. The wages of sin is death, he moved the funds on him.